No matter what you do, no matter what you say, he always seems to have the upper hand, to be 5 steps ahead of you, and you're not able to actually get a word in edgewise. How many of you have struggled to communicate with a narcissist? Type in me into the chat, because I need people to understand, like, communicating with a narcissist is awful. Like, there's not an easy way to do it, and there's not a good solution for it to look like down the road, because all it does is it perpetuates the confusion, the lies, the gaslighting, the darvo, all these different things that he'll put on you to try to make sure that the communication goes south and he's in control. Now, what does this actually look like when we're talking about how to communicate with a narcissist? We're going to talk about 2 main aspects, just communication in general, and then we're also going to talk about like co-parenting, parallel parenting, communication, that aspect as well. Okay, so stick around for those 2. When we're talking about communication in general, I need you to understand that you have to go into this very factual. This is one of the hardest parts. Whether you're going through a divorce or whether you're going through just like regular life and you're like, how am I going to communicate? You have to start dealing with facts. This is one of the hardest things for people to do, because right now you've been living your life for such a long period of time by what he's imposed upon you. His stories, his lies, his belief, his truth, to convince, to manipulate you. So as a result, all of those things are making you react, making you respond to the triggers that he's placed in front of you. He's put all these traps in front of you and you keep stepping in them. Okay, basically that's what it is. And so inside of all this is learning, how do I actually work on developing an internal framework of how I'm living and how I'm actually showing up in a healthy way. Inside of this, we have to be able to go off of what is factual. So when you're communicating stuff, it can't just be your emotions. He doesn't care about your emotions. He's made that very evident, very clear. You also can't run conversations based on your emotions, because he'll obliterate you every single time. How many of you have seen this in an argument? You're talking through it and you say a statement just out of high emotion. You say a statement because you're trying to find the right words. You're trying to figure out what to say. You're so distraught, and he takes that one statement and he destroys the entire argument with it. I would do this all the time because I would fight very logical. So I'd wait till my wife would get to an emotional state where she would say something out of emotion that wasn't factual. Then I would take that one piece and I would showcase it and be like, see, this thing right here is the reason why all of that is not true. It's a fallacy argument. It doesn't make sense, but that is what the logic is. And when you're in the moment and you're only in the feelings, you won't see that. And as a result, he'll control the conversation and he'll control you. So when you come into a conversation and you're not factual, you're not logical, you're not actually processing it and communicating it that way, expect the conversation to go south. Expect you to get destroyed from the aspect of he's going to attack a lot of things in a very logical way that will expose holes and poke holes into the emotions. Now, this is super hard because as a woman, you're struggling with this piece of emotions. There's millions of emotions that you're dealing with, and there's millions of emotions that he's placing and impacting upon you. Oftentimes trying to make you feel and experience all these emotions, so you act crazy, so you act like you're the wild one, and then he feels like he's okay and that he's normal and that he's in charge. And so inside of all of this, you will start to develop an internal framework that has your emotions dictate your logic versus your logic dictating your emotions. Now, the reason why we have to bring this to head here is for you to actually see if your feelings dictate what's going on. You will always stay stuck. You will always stay confused. You will always have brain fog. Like, you will not be free. You will not get out because you will constantly just be looking at, I love him. He means so much to me. Like it's so great. And you won't look at the logical and you won't look at the facts that he's actually abusing you. And so we focus a lot of times of bringing people back to the reality of what are the facts of the situation. You hear me say it all the time, because if I can get you to understand this, you can actually start to move forward into freedom. This is how we teach and how we train on all levels when we bring people into our programs of like, we have to focus on the facts. The facts are the only thing that will set you free. If you can't focus on the facts, you will constantly run into fiction, fantasy, and feelings that will dictate where you go. But when we're able to focus on the facts, it's a whole different ballgame. So facts come into play when you're dealing with the toxic person in your life. So you're trying to hold him accountable. You're not talking about your emotions. You're not talking about how you feel. You're just saying this is the fact. Like, we're in a relationship and you stepped out on me. You cheated. You started talking to another woman. You talked inappropriately. Like, you're dealing with like the facts. You're not dealing with how you feel. He doesn't care about how you feel. So if you fight with feelings, he will destroy you. Okay, how many of you are getting this right now? Do you understand what I'm talking about? Because like if you don't do this and start to flip this frame, he will continue to manipulate and control the feelings about where you go. It is especially essential inside even like the court process. It doesn't mean you have to walk in and be a robot. You have to show feelings to be able to engage with like you're there because of your kids. You're there because you want freedom. You have feelings, but you also have to have a very logical sense that doesn't just come across being like, well, I'm doing this because I feel. No, you're doing this because of how this, and this negatively affected you logically. It has to be able to show this evidence, this demonstration, because that's what helps get you free. Whether it's through the divorce process, whether it's mentally and emotionally, whatever it might be. Now, when you bring this over into parenting, co-parenting with a narcissist, what does it actually look like? Well, first off, I need you to understand, look up parallel parenting. Parallel parenting is living separate lives, completely separate, no communication, no interaction in between, really hardly at all. Using a third party apps, maybe even just email, but you're not talking on the phone, you're not texting him, you're not engaging with him. If the kids are old enough, they can have cell phones and he's interacting with them if he needs to. You have to be careful. There's a lot of different pieces there, but you live separate lives. So you have the kids, you're taking them to their games when you have the kids. He has the kids, he's taking them to their games when he has the kids. It's separate. Okay? That's pretty much one of the only ways that works effective and efficiently. Trying to mash those together just don't work. Inside of this, divorce, parallel parenting, custody battles. The method I want you to understand, it works on all the others, but specifically I need you to know for here. The method I want you to understand is the BIFF method. The BIFF method was created for high conflict relationships, divorce, communication, etc. Inside of this, we have to give this framework of what it looks like. First, it's brief. You want to keep whatever communication, text message, email, anything like that. Don't get on the phone. You want to lower everything. You want to keep track of everything. You want to keep it very brief. Doesn't mean it's just hi bye, but it just needs to be very brief so that you can communicate only what is needed factually, logically. You can communicate only what's needed and then you get out. Okay? That conversation is not there as a stepping stone to another conversation. It is only there to communicate whatever has to be communicated about the kids and the kids only. If he steps out of the boundaries of communicating about something else than the kids, throw the agreement at him. Hey, our communication agreement is that we're only going to communicate about the kids. If you don't have a communication agreement, see about getting one of those. That's very, very helpful inside of toxic relationships, divorce, custody, all that kind of stuff. Brief. Make it short. Don't spend a lot of length on it. Okay? Brief. And then the second one is informative. Informative means we're dealing with facts and logic. Hey, his appointment is at this time at this place. Hey, you're picking up the kids this day at this time at this place. Informative. Communicate information. Okay, so brief, informative. Third one might seem a little bit different. Friendly. You're why would it be friendly? I don't really want to be friendly. Okay, the only reason that friendly is in here for your case and for your perspective is, let's say you're going through the divorce or the custody battle. If you don't have friendly in there and the narcissist pulls up your text and shows them to the judge, and the judge has zero context about all the abuse because he doesn't believe in emotional abuse or narcissistic abuse, he has zero context, and he sees your text being super brief and super curt and mean and all this kind of stuff, and be like, she seems kind of abusive. Okay? When someone is looking at your text messages out of context, they need to be able to see and understand that you are doing your best to communicate. So that's why brief, informative, friendly doesn't mean you're caring, loving, exciting, and as far as building a relationship. It just means that you would engage with that person how you would maybe a coworker or a friend. There would be this level of niceness, okay? Not connection, not love, not anything else. This level of niceness that also shows people you're not a rude person, okay? And the fourth one is firm. So we've got brief, informative, friendly, and firm. Now, when we're talking about firm, it's just being consistent and strong in your boundaries. Hey, this is what the agreement says, so I want to stick to this agreement. Hey, this is what the agreement says, so we're going to stick to the agreement. Just being firm. Doesn't mean you're a jerk. Doesn't mean you're rude. He's going to tell you that you're a jerk, that you're rude, that you're limiting, that you're abusive. He's going to tell you all these things. They don't matter. What matters is that you stay consistent. And so you start using this model, BIFF, brief, informative, friendly, and firm. And then whenever he steps out of the boundary of, hey, we're only talking about the kids, you have a text message or you have the agreement that's already there, communication agreement. You just literally copy and paste it. How are you doing today? Copy and paste. Only talking about the kids. Copy and paste. Hey, thanks for asking, but we're only talking about the kids. Appreciate it, but I'd like to keep it just to communication about the kids. Boom, boom, boom. Every time he steps online, boom. It's a copy paste method. It works great. It's going to piss him off. He's going to get frustrated at you, but you're training him that you're only going to respond the way that you need to respond. Now, here's the catch. The logical communication, the BIFF communication, the copy paste piece to it as well, those only work when you decide to be consistent. As soon as you step out of the realm of consistency, he knows, all I have to do is push on her 5 times, then she gives in. So 5, 5, 5, boom, got what I want. 5, 5, 5. Boom, got what I want. He's always going to do this. So you have to go into this understanding. When you start this, you need to be ridiculously consistent. The best way to explain this is training a dog not to pee inside. If you train the dog to pee outside, you have to be very consistent, taking the dog out constantly, taking the dog out when he's getting ready to pee, taking the dog out like multiple different ways. There's so many different modalities, I'm not going to get into that. But like it has to be a consistent thing versus if one day the dog pees inside, one day the dog pees outside, it's like, okay, it's a shit show. So like you need to understand when you are training a narcissist of your boundaries and your communication, it's not as much of him breaking them in those moments. It's you staying firm in the fact that no, this is what it's going to be. So he asks about your day. Hey, copy, paste. We're only talking about the kids. You see what I mean? As soon as you step out of that consistency piece, he will attack with a vengeance and he will infiltrate with a vengeance and he will break through your boundaries with a vengeance. So consistency is key when you're starting to communicate with a narcissist or when you're having to parallel parent with a narcissist. Do not give up on that consistency. If I can be of any help with this, go to rawmotivations.com/breakthrough to help you move from trap to freedom inside or out of the toxic relationship and you're stuck mentally and emotionally, not sure how to heal and how to move forward.